Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon when you are watching this webinar. Welcome back. This is Dave Nagel from Corwin Press. Very excited to continue the dialogue with my colleagues and friends in Worthington City Schools. We're now on to webinar 6, Preventing Student Failure, using something I call the SITE model, and then working on a specific strategy or specific action around early failure detection. So we'll get started right away, as always. Hopefully you have your working handout available, and this will be for webinars 5, 6, 7, and 8. We are on webinar 6, so I'm sure by now you're familiar with the drill, so you got that in front of you, and we'll get started right away. So I'm going to ask kind of a general overarching question. Where would we spend more effort? In preventing student failures or enduring them? Fascinating research that comes out of a lot of different studies that found that people will invest and spend and exert a lot more effort to prevent somebody from stealing $20 that they've already earned versus making $20 and earning it. So I have to ask, why at times do we maybe spend more effort, financial resources, and time on enduring the failure after the fact versus preventing ourselves from having it happen in the first place? And when I say preventing student failure, I mean preventing course failure. I don't mean having students fall down and struggle, but preventing them from needing to make up classes, getting to the end of the semester when there's no chance to have shown the evidence they need to, especially at the high school level where we're working on credits towards graduation and receiving a passing grade. That's one I want to challenge us all on today. And so I'm going to ask you just to pause and jot down some thoughts and ideas around preventing versus enduring student failure. Take a few moments, pause the recording, and then we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. As always, if you need more time to pause the recording, please do so, but I'm going to assume at this stage I can always move on, and you know how to give yourself as much time as needed for any other reflections. Some important elements when we think about looking at preventing that student failure and what I call getting students ready for what I call upperclassmen readiness. And so not just looking at preventing failure for all of our students, but specifically at that 9th and 10th grade level. Success in 9th grade is such a predictor to overall high school success, and one of my standing taglines is, no matter how many times we meet or have discussions with the students or their parents, between June of their 8th grade year and August of their first year in high school, none of them have the christening, bar mitzvah, baptism, or exorcism that gets them ready for some of the changes in rigor and expectations at the high school level. Some of them come in without the skills, perhaps sometimes without the quote-unquote work ethic, or there's just a change in how things are done. And we put students behind the 8 ball, and not only that, we put our teachers behind the 8 ball. Because as students begin to not just drop out completely, but drop out academically, drop out socially, engagement-wise, it becomes even more of a struggle. So looking at how we prevent failure, but also specifically at our 9th and 10th grade level, and then to realize this isn't something that just impacts us as teachers and educators in society in our classrooms. 80% Cox found of students that later in life, because of just a preponderance of failures in high school, didn't go for extra job training, didn't apply for certain technical jobs, or didn't apply for things because they were afraid related to their confidence, not their self-esteem. This is not about self-esteem. This is about the confidence and helping students realize that falling down and struggling is something that we all do in life. But all of us have gotten to where we are because somebody helped us get up and put their hand on our tail and gave us a pat on the bottom and said, come on, we need to move forward, but I'm going to support you now so you can eventually get there on your own. And so the model or framework that I've developed, it's simple. I call it the SITE model just because it's a nice little acronym, is how we prevent student failures. And it starts first and foremost with that level of support. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. And then we focus on 4 overarching elements to drive our actions: interventions, incentives, time is the variable, learning is the constant, and then collecting the right kind of evidence from students to know when they've met the skills and mastered what they need to. And that support comes first. We talk about developing resiliency and stick-with-itness with our students. It's not going to happen if they don't have a chance to make up that mistake. All of us have had that happen, and so they need to know that they're being supported. We're not going to do it for them, but it's one of the biggest factors Nan Henderson mentions, who's done just a tremendous amount of work with Duckworth and a few others around developing grit, that we have to feel like we're going to be supported. And so one of the examples that I tie in from the best-selling authors Chip and Dan Heath in their book Switch is shaping the path. None of these strategies are going to do the work for the students, but I use the example in my book where my son a few years ago had a cavity and he had not been brushing his teeth a lot. And that's something we all struggle with at times, especially with kids. But in the morning when he would come downstairs and get ready for the bus and there would be this mad dash in the last minute, and I would say, you need to brush your teeth. Well, his toothbrush was upstairs. So a simple thing I did was put a toothbrush in the downstairs bathroom. I shaped his path. I made it easier for him to brush his teeth than not. I didn't brush it for him at the age of 9. So what we're talking about is shaping the path so it's more difficult for students to fail than it is for them to succeed. It's not doing the work for them. And so throughout these next 2 webinars, actually 3 webinars, I'm going to highlight some specific strategies. The first one now is just simply early failure detection. You know, we save a lot of lives in 2016 and beyond with Doppler radar and the warning systems for tornadoes and bad weather. We have to do the same thing with student failure. And most of us, if we start the school year, let's say August 20th, those of us who have been teaching for more than 1 or 2 years, or even our first year, by Labor Day or shortly after, we know which students that are in danger of failure. We can see it based on the skills, based on their lack of turning in work. We can prevent much earlier than we do. And so a simple, little framework here that we used to use at my former high school was every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, as an individual teacher, I would report out to my department chairs capture from their teachers. I did this when I was still in the classroom. The number of students that were in danger of failure, and then why. Was it attendance? Was it low quizzes? Was it missing work? Was it not participating? Was it a specific skill? And certainly, we had students that are check marks in a lot of those. But attendance issues are different than missing work. Missing work is different than a specific skill deficiency. And so this allowed our PLCs, or what we would call in Worthington, our teacher-based teams, to develop where can we really begin to intervene. If there's a specific skill deficiency that's missing, how are we targeting that skill in some of our instruction? If we have students not working and not participating, is it possible there's a lack of engagement? And some of that we have to own. But either way, we're preventing earlier in the semester, and I can promise you, when efforts are aligned to attack and address why students are failing, we're not going to give them the grade. They're just going to have to do the work. We have a better chance to prevent that failure versus endure it. And as a final footnote, I think all of us know, if we have taught students that are in repeat courses at the high school level, taking biology or English 9 or whatever it is a second or third time, those are not the most engaged and delightful students that we work with. So I think we want to do our best to prevent that from happening. So I won't even read these 3 simple questions that are the reflection ones for the end of this webinar, but please take some time, especially with number 2. How do you and your current teacher-based team currently determine early in the semester the students that are in danger of failure? And then what actions have you put in place or could you begin to consider to put in place as we get ready in the fall? Thank you so much, as always, for the time and opportunity to share ideas with you. I, again, as always, will encourage comments and thoughts at dave.nagel@corewinlearning.com. Cell phone numbers there, gradingforimpact.com, that is about to get a once-over. So sometime during this webinar series, you might see a big shift in the appearance and look at that website. But either way, thank you as always. Have a great rest of your day, and look forward to seeing everybody this June.